So I really love the maple leaves for its very unique shape. It's like a star-shaped ivy, but not really as well. What really draws my attention to these leaves is its ability to take on any colors. Think of a nice fall tone, and you can think of orange, yellow tones, and if you just think of a summer, these guys look really good in a leafy shade as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how just by a few simple tricks, you can achieve a very realistic looking maple leaf, even without a veiner, but just knowing how to work on your colors. So in this video, we'll be learning how to make these maple leaves. So these are the maple leaves cut out available in your course notes as well. So you can go ahead and cut them out. If you're looking for something bigger, you can size up and cut them. So you can actually play around with the sizes. So we'll be learning how to paint two different colors on our maple leaves. So you can see the outer rim is made out of something more of a stronger orangey flame tone, and the middle part is something more yellowish as well. So this is a great way to vary the look of a maple leaf without having to use a veiner for your maple leaves. So the colors we'll be using will be copper from Wilton. We'll be using cream color from Sugar Flare, dark brown from Sugar Flare, and we will be adding a little bit of Christmas red from Sugar Flare as well. So these are the four colors that I will be using. So let's start with mixing the base color of our maple leaves. So that will be purely cream tone and just a little bit of the orange. So I'm going to grab my spatula. And next we're going to pour out some of our So we'll be diluting these guys. So I'm going to pull them out into a new well for a new color. And I'll just be adding a tiny bit of the copper into this base tone over here. That looks like too much copper, so I'm going to go ahead and top it out with my maple, with my cream tone. And I'm just going to swatch the colors on my kitchen towel. So this looks like a nice maple color, probably just a little bit more vodka to soften it up. A little bit more of the cream. So this looks good as the base color for our maple leaves. So now we are ready to move on to the next tone that we have, which is the color that's gonna occupy the outer rim of the maple leaf. So for that, we're gonna use a different brush. So for the outer rim, we will have the copper, we'll have a bit of dark brown, and we'll have a little bit of our Christmas red as well. Okay, so for this, we're gonna dilute them. So the orange is gonna be our main color, but we're gonna tone down the orange a little bit, just with a bit of brown and a bit of red tones as well to make it a little bit more reddish. So I'm going to wash my brush. My brown tones. And then a little bit of our red tones. Great, so now we're ready to mix our colors. We can use the part over here of the color wheel to mix so that we can see the color clearer. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of the orange tone, just a tiny bit of the brown to tone it down. So let me just do a check. So this is a very nice tone of orange already. If you're happy with it, you can go ahead and use it. I'm just going to add in just a tiny bit of red to kind of like jazz it up. Bit of brown, bit more orange. So I'm just gonna test it. And you can see this is a much brighter version of this burnt orange that we have here. And I'm actually really happy with this, so I'm probably going to go ahead with this. So because the outer rim is going to be like a darker color, we're also going to make use of the color to create some veining look as well. So with that, what you want to have with your mixture is not something this watery. You want something that is kind of more saturated, dry, so that you can start to create some lines on your petals like that. So this is what we're going for. So I'm going to make this a lot thicker, this like a more pasty look. So I'm gonna, and then just a pasty. And then I'm just going to tap off the excess and just try to get the look. Okay, so probably add in a little bit more brown. And then tap off. So I think this is good. So once you start to see some lines on it, using a very light feathery stroke, you'll be able to achieve that for your maple leaves. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start with the darker color first. Okay, so we're gonna tap off the excess of the darker color, and using very light feathery strokes, we're gonna just brush from outside in to create the lines. So once that is done, we are going to go back to our base color for our maple leaves, and we're just going to brush all over the base. So this looks a little bit light, so I'm going to go in with a little bit more. So flip it over, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to let it rest for a while I work on the second piece. So light feathery strokes. So you can see that I actually did not went back to the palette to obtain more colors. I just work with what I have in my brush itself, and that's sufficient. And then with the base color. So you can go a lot darker if you want to. I'm just keeping them this light. And yep. So once we're done with that, we're gonna introduce some movement onto our maple leaves. So you can see they're pretty flat now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dip our Dresden tool, and using the really sharp end, dip it into the shortening to give it a little bit of moisture. And what that does is you can go ahead and easily slide it on the maple leaves without having it stick onto your Dresden tool. So I'm just going to pull from the tip of the maple leaf and just kind of like in gentle strokes pull it downwards into the center. And what that does is it creates this nice cupping look. So you can do it on two of the tips and you can flip it around. You can do the same to the back. If you're uncomfortable with using the sharper end, you can always try using the blunt end first. So take away the excess. Yeah, this might work better. And then flip it around. And that's how you can create movement for your maple leaves. So I'm going to do on the next one. You can flip it around. Can work on the other parts. So the light movement is enough. You do not need too much. And there you go. So now that we're done with our leaves, we're ready to attach them onto our branch. I have a few examples over here, as you can see. So I have a small little branch over here with just one leaf, and I have one that's kind of like intertwined to allow for two leaves to come together. You can either fold wires this way, or you can trim them into 2 wires and then we just floral tape them later. So I'm going to show you guys how we do that. With this, I'm going to use a 26 gauge brown wire, and I'm going to go ahead and trim them into 3s. So now I'm going to reach out to our edible glue, tap off the excess, and we are going to attach the maple leaf on one side. So you can choose the nicer side that you want to showcase. So just kind of apply the edible glue and then just press your wire on it. Should take only a few seconds for it to stick. If you're uncomfortable using a brown wire, you can always use a white wire, and you can go ahead and dust it later. See, that's just how fast it takes to stick the leaf on a branch. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the next one and the few pieces that I have over here. So there's 3 individual wires of maple leaves over here. If you're uncomfortable with tying them or twisting them like that, like what I did here, what you can do is you can grab a brown floral tape or any colors that will match the color of your wire, trim them, and in order to activate the stickiness of a floral tape, we just have to stretch it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of line them and bend the wires just ever so slightly into any shapes that you want it to be. And then I'm going to wrap the tape around it. So if you want to create a longer branch, you can go ahead and attach the other one just slightly lower. You just bend it this way a little bit more. And then you can continue taping it. So all you have to do is keep twisting down the stem and keep pressing as you're twisting down, and that's what's going to help it stick onto the wires. And you can just all the way down. You can end it off there. Yep, so there you go. Okay, so you can leave these guys as individual pieces if you want. You can always have this maple leaves without any wires, so that when you're decorating on your cake, you can just let them fall off the cake like fallen leaves. Or you can just have them in one small little branch, so it works perfectly fine for a single tier cake. So here are the different variations that you have. So go ahead and play around with what you like to have. You can always try them with a different shade as well. And yep, and that's it. So these are really easy to make leaves. So think of a nice autumn theme, and these guys will really come in handy. So here's an example of a cake that I've done previously using these leaves. So you can see how these leaves are so simple, but it adds on a new dimension to the cake, even if it's just like a one-tier flat surface cake. So have fun with these guys, and I cannot wait to see what you do with them.